Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce a good friend to Pearl Buck International and her family. Miss Gina Rubo and family, please join us.
So what they haven't told you is we're going to get to see a video in a few minutes of our sponsor child in the Philippines for the first time. So strap on your seatbelts because I'm a crier. Pray every day and your prayers will be answered. Mine were. That's what Lou Bell wrote to us when she learned we had chosen her as our sponsor child. Pray every day and your prayers will be answered. Mine were. Can you imagine raising a family of 4 on $119 a month? $119 a month. When Lou Bell's father died in 2012, her mother had to get a job to pay for books and school, to help Lou Bell have a tricycle to ride to school. Can you guys imagine riding a tricycle to school? No, you have buses. But let me step back to our family's history with Pearl Buck and everything I'm learning here today. You know, I've been here a few times. I was moved by this breakfast when my dear friend Joan Block walked up here and told her story. Joan, thank you. And it's been this amazing journey. And then today I'm sitting here and my husband says, "That's Wendy Miller. I grew up with Wendy." Hi, Wendy. Scott's here. And Stacy Weichel, who's a volunteer, and she talked about the book discussions. Well, Julia Lee Rubel, my husband's grandmother, was in a book club with Pearl S. Buck. And when that wind started to blow, did y'all see the wind blowing? Did you get a little scared? I thought, wow, Pearl just entered the room. You know, it's just amazing. My husband grew up on Route 113. And when I first moved to Bucks County, I'm from Philadelphia. All this land, right? And so we would drive around Bucks County, and he would say things like, "That's the little dirt road I used to ride my bike on through the Pearl Buck estate." And they no longer have the tennis courts where my mom used to play tennis with Jean Lippincott. Does anybody know who Jean is? It's Pearl's daughter. And this was my playground. But isn't it amazing that this woman has changed so many lives in our own backyard? So a few years ago, my father-in-law retired, Scott's dad, Walter Rubel, and he came to us and said, "I've not only worked with the foundation for many, many years, but we've sponsored children over the years. Now it's time for you to do that same thing. It's time for you to share that legacy." And so we thought we were going to be sponsoring his child, but it turns out that she graduated that year. And so you can graduate out of the program. And when I was watching this video, one woman talked about and cried about how do you pick? And then I remember that same feeling. How do we pick this child from the number of applications? And then who's going to sponsor the other children? So I'll tell you how we picked. Our sponsor's child's name is Lou Bell, and she's in the Philippines. She loves animals. She loves volleyball. She was about 12 years old. She loved being a big sister. Well, can you imagine that I have a daughter who loves animals, volleyball, and loves being a big sister? So it immediately spoke to Scott and me, and we said, you know, this is going to be the perfect sponsorship for us. So we did, and we have, and we're here, and we're honored. But you know, we don't think about things like Typhoon Yolanda when it hits Ormoc head on. And I can tell you this, I called Tony that day in tears. "Tony, how do I get in touch with Lou Bell? Is she okay? Is she going to live? Where's her family?" And do you know, this organization sent their folks in the Philippines into Ormoc to make sure that all of our sponsored children were okay. Our house was gone. We get rains, our houses are still here. But the gift that I got, that my family got, is that we knew she was alive. And that's because of you. So thank you for that. So I'm going to take my tissues and I'm going to sit over there. And I'm going to hear Lubella's voice for the first time. Pay attention to the video, don't pay any attention to me.
Hi, Ma'am Dina. Hello to your family and to everyone there at the Living the Legacy Breakfast. Good morning. My name is Bella Baniego. I am Gina Rubel's sponsored child, and this is my mother, Mama Joy, my sisters, Lucette and Lianne. We will never forget how Mom Gina's kindness helped my family when recent tragedies broke our hearts and brought us to a state of desperation. Our father's sudden death last October 1 brought us so much sadness. I'll never forget that day when my father just collapsed and became unconscious. We were all shouting for help, hoping our neighbors would assist us in bringing my father to the nearest hospital. However, as soon as my father was brought to the hospital, he was considered dead on arrival. My mother called me through phone that my father already passed away. When I heard the news, my entire body became numb. It felt like a bomb exploded in my chest. It was difficult to breathe. At that time, I was so confused. Everything in my life was so dark. I almost gave up until letters from Gina Rubel became a source of encouragement. Her letters gave me comfort. Her words gave me hope. Her love made me stand up again. In one of her letters, I will never forget when she said, "I know how it feels because I just also recently lost my father." When Mom Gina mentioned that line, I felt that I was not alone. I felt that there was someone who understood what I was going through. On November 8, 2013, the wind was so strong and it was raining so hard. The strength of Super Typhoon Haiyan was too overwhelming. Small and big trees were cut. Buildings and other infrastructures were smashed. Schools were severely damaged. Having known that many have died, I was thankful that my loved ones were safe. However, when we returned to our home, we saw our house and furniture severely damaged by the super typhoon. Strong wind damaged our roof. Heavy rain caused excessive flooding that destroyed our furniture and other belongings. At that time, we didn't know what to do. We had no money. Less than a week after the catastrophe, the staff of the Curtis Brock Foundation informed us that my sponsor, Ma'am Gina Ribera, together with the other donors of the Curtis Brock International, has raised funds to help us. The sponsored children here in Ormoc were given new bags and school supplies, since our old materials were also washed away by the floods. We were also given financial assistance to purchase basic commodities, housing, and livelihood. Last March 29, 2014, I completed my secondary education at the Ipon National High School in Ormoc. I was able to graduate because I have a loving family and a good-hearted sponsor, Ma'am Gina Rubel.
Hi ma'am, thank you for sponsoring my daughter Lobel and for deciding to sponsor my youngest daughter Lianne so as to continually help my family.
Thank you, Ma'am Gina, Sir Scott, and to your entire family. You have changed my life. You never failed to give me hope. May God shower you with more blessings. And I pray that there will be more people like you who will be willing to share their love to less fortunate Thank you, Ma'am Gina.
All right, so I'm going to try to look up now.
And to everyone there at the Living the Legacy Breakfast, good morning. My name.
So Lou Bell has graduated, so I kind of felt lost when she graduated because we have grown attached to her, and so we decided to sponsor her youngest sister, which is such a gift. And you know, all of this is a gift to us. It's changed my life. I think it's changed all of our lives. But what we can do for people here in our own country and around the world is just amazing. So to all of you, to those of you who have come far to be here, to Marty Spaninger coming from New York, she grew up here too. Thank you. Just remember these children, they need us, and we need them just as much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Rubel family. Scott, Gina, Gianna, and Ford. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to introduce David Breidinger, Chairman of the Board, Pearl S. Buck International.
Good morning, and Gina, Scott, and family, thank you for that inspirational story. And thank you for caring and loving for a family. I too have a young girl in the Philippines that Lorraine and I sponsor. And some of you may have seen on the back of your program, we're doing a trip to the Philippines coming up in February. And so many of us who will go will get to meet our child for the first time. And that'll be a real special treat for all of us. As Tony said, I'm Dave Breidinger. I'm privileged and honored to be the chairman of the board of this terrific organization with a terrific staff, terrific board of directors to work with. And as you saw this morning, and I'd be remiss not to say thank you, to the Volunteer Association. I know no organization that has a volunteer association that is so dedicated to an organization as our Volunteer Association. And as was mentioned, they donated $55,000 to Pearl S. Buck this year, and you saw the number over many, many decades. So please join me once again in welcoming and thanking the Volunteer Association and those who are here representing. Today you heard the full story of Pearl S. Buck International and met some of the wonderful people, and it is now my privilege to ask you to make a financial investment to help us grow and do more than ever before. This is not just an investment in Pearl S. Buck International, it's truly an investment in our own future. And I believe that is one of the most important investments that any of us can make. To build a strong foundation for expanding our programs and providing stable future for Pearl S. Buck International, we are inviting you to join the Living the Legacy Society. Donors who make a 5-year pledge of $1,000 or more are part of that society. If you have been inspired by what you have seen today, I ask you to consider joining me and my wife Lorraine and many others in this room to be our newest member of the society. This is the 4th year of our Living the Legacy Breakfast, and through the generosity of key individuals and organizations in our community, we have raised over $508,000 in gifts and pledges to the Living the Legacy campaign. This morning I am pleased to say that our Pearl S. Buck Volunteer Association continues to be part of that legacy and helps us to educate and inspire our community and improve the lives of our families. I'm also excited to share that thanks to a few donors, we have raised an additional $15,000 in leadership gifts ahead of today's event. Now, some of you here today have attended our breakfast before and have pledged your support. For that, we want to say thank you. And we'd also ask that you might consider paying that pledge off early or increasing that pledge amount if you're inspired to do so. As I go through the levels of giving of our Living the Legacy Society, please note that there is a special section on the back of the pledge card for you. Now I'd like to ask our table captains. Each table should have a captain to pass out the pledge forms. The first level of giving is the Building Cultures pledge, and that's $1,000 each year for 5 years, which is approximately $83 a month. With this gift, we can educate and inspire more young people to explore and appreciate other cultures through initiatives like our summer cultural camp, our high school leadership program, and more. The next level of giving is our Creating Hope level. It's a pledge of $5,000 per year for 5 years. This amount allows us to ensure that more children than ever before can stay in school, see a doctor when needed, and indeed have hope that they can and will achieve their dreams for a successful future instead of dropping out of school to get a job to provide for their family. And finally, the last level is the Changing Lives pledge, which is a $10,000 a year pledge for 5 years. Your gift would allow us to ensure that Pearl S. Buck's life-changing legacy will indeed live on and educate, inspire, and call to action current and future generations, especially young people, to walk in our founders' footsteps, changing the lives of children and families in need around the globe. All of these donations will provide Pearl S. Buck International with sustainable funding to continue building our programs. If you are joining me today as a member of the Living the Legacy Society, my sincere thank you for your generous support. Although I started by introducing the Living the Legacy Society, we do know and respect that many of you might prefer a different level of giving, and we've provided that next lines for you. On this line, please tell us how much you would like to give and for how many years. We truly appreciate whatever you can do. Whatever level of support helps us to continue to serve our community here in Bucks County and our community around the world. And we ask that you consider making that first payment of your pledge today. Perhaps you might also consider a gift of stock or something else, or you simply have some great ideas for us. If so, please check the box, the one that says, please contact me, and we would love to hear your ideas. As you are filling out the cards, please know whatever you can give will be sincerely appreciated. And it is on behalf of the children, both here and around the world, and the families of those children, that we say thank you. Please take a few minutes to fill out the card, and when you're finished, please pass the envelope back to the table captain. Also, for those of you who might have been inspired to sponsor a child, you may have seen on the table on the way in, there are opportunities to choose a child, and you can certainly do that randomly by looking at those children and their profiles, and we'd be glad to have you join us sponsoring a child as well. Thank you so much for joining us today, and now I'll turn the program back over to Tony Luna. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen and young people here today, we hope you were inspired today by the lives that have been powerfully impacted by one woman's vision of compassion put into action 50 years ago, a living legacy that we are proud to continue every day at Pearl S. Buck International. Our founder was indeed a great storyteller, and so it is with this in mind we invite you to please help us tell the story that you heard today with those that you know, and invite them to join us on an upcoming Discover the Legacy tour and discover the legacy for themselves. As David mentioned, please also stop by our information tables outside the tent to learn more about our child sponsorship, cultural programs, volunteering, and all of our upcoming special events. And our international gift shop is open in our home office today. I would not be doing my job, and the volunteers would smack me on the back of the head if I didn't invite you all to please visit the gift shop, perhaps browse, buy some early holiday shopping. They always have some great sales in the gift shop. And if anybody has time and interest in taking a Pearl Buck house tour at 9:30, a docent, a tour guide will meet you in the gift shop in the Welcome Center at 9:30. And lastly, we do have our high school leadership painting, somewhere here, I believe it's in the back. The Unity painting in the back, those of you that might have seen it at the coffee bar, that was designed and created by members of our summer high school leadership program, and we do have a raffle for that one-of-a-kind, you'll never see it again painting, so please take a look at that as well. And on behalf of the Board of Directors, volunteers, and staff, thank you very much for living the legacy with us this morning and for your continued support. Have a fantastic day, everybody.